Thank you, Cecil. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to the first session here at SoccerX. Let everyone come in and take their seats and we can get underway. My name is Richard Conway. I'm a former BBC Sport correspondent, now managing partner at Spectacle. We're a global PR and strategy company specializing in sport. And today I'm delighted that we're going to be talking, as Cecil said, on this subject, Newcastle United and Sela partnering with purpose. It's about how embracing fan culture and community, about redefining the sponsorship experience. I'm delighted to say that I'm joined this morning by Peter Silverstone, the Chief Commercial Officer of Newcastle United. Come on up, Peter. Welcome. And I'm also joined by Ibrahim Mohtaseb, the Senior Vice President of Sela. Good morning. So we've got around 40 minutes, lots to get through, lots to talk about. Partnering with purpose. It's 1 year now, Ibrahim, into this collaboration, this partnership with Newcastle United. Shall we just start by talking to the audience about who Sela are, what you are as a company? We're very well known in Saudi Arabia, new into the UK and European markets. Tell us a little bit about the company.
Well, thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Well, Sela is basically an events company that owns and operates venues in the kingdom. We've been predominantly working in the kingdom and in the region for the past 25 years. We were founded in 1997, but now we started our path into expanding into the UK and into other markets. So we worked on a lot of the entertainment and sports events that we see, but we have been working predominantly behind the scenes over the last few years.
And why, tell us briefly, the partnership with Newcastle United, what was the driving purpose behind it? What was the reasons to get involved with the club?
It was basically alignment of both values between the club and Sela in general. We wanted, the ultimate objective was to bring our brand to the forefront, to the front of stage. We've been acting behind closed doors. We've been predominantly a non-marketed brand for a very long time. So because we're expanding into the UK, we wanted to ensure that our services are pretty well known, our offering is known, and customers and the business community at large understands what we do as a company.
Peter, good morning. Tell us a little bit about Newcastle United. For those, I mean, people will know the name of the club, they'll know the famous history, the stories of the club, but tell us a little bit about where the club is right now in 2024. It's a couple of years after the takeover. It seems like it's exciting times for the club. I should declare as well, I'm a Geordie and a Newcastle fan as well. It's probably a good time to mention that. But tell us a little bit about where the club are at right now.
Great. Good morning, everyone. Fantastic to be here. Well, Newcastle United obviously needs no necessarily introduction. We're a leading Premier League club with a huge history and heritage, founded in 1892 in a one-club city, a city so passionate and so focused on its football club. And obviously the history and legacy of the club is something that we need to reignite. With the Premier League credibility and history we have, it's been what fans might say a barren time for a period. And yes, in October 2021, that optimism was relit, that fire was relit as a club. And now we're on a transformation journey. We're having to play a little bit of catch up to reassert our position from that once leading position in the Premier League, to really build the club, build the brand, build our awareness, and ultimately grow a global audience that can help drive the club forward from a revenue and fan acquisition perspective. So working with Sela over this last year has achieved some of that as well, which has been part of the transformation journey since the takeover.
A little bit, you know, you talked there about the takeover and that renewing of that optimism. It seems that from all levels, there's a passion and an enthusiasm that's been injected back into the club. Is that what you see? Is that must be exciting for you as on an executive level to see that and to try and harness that?
Yeah, we've got, you know, obviously being taken over by PIF and minority shareholders who have a vision and ambition to realise the ambitions of the city and of the club, to take the club forward, has been hugely inspiring for everyone. We have the investment we need to build the infrastructure we need to take the club forward, and that's not taken for granted. That requires investment in facilities, in the areas outside the stadium, and in people. And that's been one of the drives to bring in a team that is capable of harnessing our current global appeal and then maximizing that and taking that forward. And that optimism was there from the day of takeover, but it keeps happening with every step of the journey. And when a year ago we launched our partnership with Sela, that was the next step in the journey. And as we'll talk about today, some of the activations and work we've done together has really put us not only on a global map, but also really ignited that passion and pride in what we as partners are doing together.
Excellent. Just while we're talking about Sela, Ibrahim, football's obviously a primary driver for your sponsorship there, but you're involved in other sports, boxing as well. Can you tell us a little bit about your involvement in that?
Yeah, as I said, we've been putting together a lot of big events in the kingdom, boxing being one category of events that we've been working on over the last year precisely. We've put together some incredible events, and the last one was last weekend between Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk. We have the rematch, which was announced yesterday, actually, and it'll happen on the 21st of December. So it's something that we're very excited about.
Yeah, be looking forward to that one after the first fight, definitely. Let's talk a little bit about fan culture, because it seems that the partnership is ruthlessly laser-focused on fans and on delivering for them. Ibrahim, let me start with you. Why was that important in terms of enhancing fan experience and bringing, I think, spectacular every day is one of your taglines, is one of your advertising lines. How is that manifesting itself?
Yeah, spectacular every day is our main tagline, and basically, after looking at everything that we've done or everything that we do in general, it's all about injecting that bit of improvement into any type of experience that we put together. When we looked at the opportunity of sponsoring Newcastle as a front of shirt sponsor, obviously it's a very big opportunity to sponsor a top Premier League club for a company like ourselves. We understand the industry quite well because we used to work on activations for other brands on behalf of other brands and football clubs. So we understand the intricacies of activating a brand sponsorship. So we wanted to take our activation with Newcastle to the next level. So we wanted to basically look at it, build a strategy around it, and scrutinize every bit of idea that we might get or be put across onto the table in front of us. And we understood and we studied the fan culture, the community at large, and we wanted to ensure that whatever we do resonates with the fans and taps into the affinity and culture of the community in general.
Yeah, and I'll add to that. When I've actually known Sela from its history and from 20 years ago, as Ibrahim said, a leading sports marketing, sports promotion, sports activation agency in Saudi. And when we met during our discussions, it was clear this, as you call it, Richard, a ruthless objective of changing that narrative, of coming from behind the curtain, as Ibrahim said, and engaging with our fans and also spreading their message. And if you think about Sela, the reason why I find the partnership so innovative and unique, it's not a B2C business, but yet it has the consumer, or as we would call it in this room, the fan, at the very heart of what they do to create the awareness, as Ibrahim said, to create their international dimension, and whether that's employability or awareness of events in the UK. And when we look at some of these activations, you can see the fan first. It's about pride, it's about affinity, it's about awareness. And they're tapping into what obviously is something we're very proud of, the Toon Army, our fan base, which we pride ourselves in being the best or one of the best fan bases in the country, because they travel up and down, they travel everywhere. We were privileged to be in Melbourne last week. We played in the MCG Stadium, which is obviously iconic, in front of 80,000 fans. And again, it was amazing for us to see so many Geordies there. We think between 15 to 20,000 in that stadium. So Sela has tapped into that passion, that crazy passion of our fans, and really got to understand it under the skin of it through the activations, which just breeds even more awareness and interest in Newcastle United.
I want to ask about a particular case study and look at it. We go back to last October. Newcastle United qualified for the Champions League for the first time in 20 years. There was a real buzz around the city amongst the fans around that. Ibrahim, tell us a little bit about what you did as a company and in partnership with Newcastle to have that fan focus and to to really drive that awareness and celebrate that return of the Champions League to the club and city?
Well, that was one of the exciting activations that we had back in October. Obviously, it was a very exciting period for the club. The fan base and the community in general was ecstatic with the return to the Champions League, and obviously excitement hits fever pitch when just before the first game, first Champions League game in 20 years. It was a very tough group for the club. First game was PSG, obviously with all the superstars coming to the north of England, and the excitement was very high. So what we did is we put together a drone show, and the name of that campaign was We're Back, and it basically just to showcase and to ignite a bit of excitement into the community in general about the return into the Champions League and about the big European club in Paris coming to play against Newcastle and Newcastle taking them on. Obviously, it was a fantastic result for the club that evening, which only amplified that activation.
I think we've got a short video we can show to show how it played out, how there's 500 drones. So let's take a look. And stuff. But how did that land with fans, and how did that land with the club to see that kind of activation taking place to celebrate the return of the Champions League? And how did that chime with the, we talk about redefining partnership. How does that fit into that theme? Yeah,
I'm feeling very, very nostalgic now, seeing the Champions League trophy here and talking about times in the Champions League. But I guess all the football clubs here are just longing to be back in that tournament. When we announced the partnership exactly a year ago, Sela lit up one of their incredible destinations in Riyadh Boulevard World with our kit launch at the time and with the announcement of the partnership. And our fans were intrigued and interested and trying to understand what Sela were doing. But when they capitalized on that moment, that longing to be back in the Champions League for 20 years, playing against one of the world's most famous and exciting teams in the city of Newcastle, it went crazy. It was obviously also bringing something to football, which Sela's very experienced in doing in the kingdom, that we haven't seen before. And that's where we're very lucky. And I'm sure there's other clubs here who have brands and other rights holders who have brands that understand activation, going back to Sela's history. But that activation went to a next level. Fans were then beginning to realize that this was a partner utilizing the platform that Newcastle United provide and them as a fan base to promote their message, but also promote the club. And yes, the result was fantastic. So all in all, an incredible 3 days. But it left the fans just thinking, what's next? And as we'll talk about, there's been plenty next, and there will be plenty in the future. But that's a really unique moment in my career, and I think a unique moment in football activation to harness that passion of the fans, that moment in time, and it will be there forever. I think we'll always remember the first drone show. And what's really interesting and surprising, but pleasantly surprising, is that rights holders or bodies that normally don't promote sponsor messages couldn't stop attaching it to it. So UEFA themselves reposted, the Premier League reposted. So they were also appreciative of what Sela and Newcastle United were doing for activation in football itself, not just for the club or the brand of Sela, but we were amplifying the UEFA Champions League, and they got on the back of that.
Yeah, you could see everyone buying into that and that amplification. Ibrahim, you can see it works for fans, you can see it works for the club, it works for UEFA, Premier League. How did that work for Sela in terms of the partnership element? Why was that important to Sela as a company to put on?
It was very important because it was it's a big moment, a milestone within the season in general, and it was towards the beginning of our partnership and our journey with Newcastle. Our ultimate objective is to be seen, to be known, and ultimately to be loved as a brand and as a business in general. And that has to resonate with not just the football community, but the business community as well. So it was a good moment and a good starting point for us to showcase our capabilities in general, for it to resonate with the community at large.
I'd add to that. I mean, it shows a sponsor brand or a partner brand that has very clear objectives: be seen, be known, be loved, and how much that aligns with what we're trying to do in our transformation journey is fantastic. Now, Sela had been through some very detailed brand strategy work as they were entering our partnership, so it was very refreshing to partner with a brand that came with those objectives very clear. And of course, for us, Newcastle United, to have a partner that wants to be the same as us, known, loved, and people to be aware of was fantastic. And then taking that to the next level.
Yeah, and again, as Peter alluded to, so you have a lot of the governing bodies like the Premier League, Champions League, and so on, which covered the activation. And typically, we try not to overbrand our activations. You don't want to overbrand it where it becomes too brand-centric, rather than providing the actual value to the fans and the community in general. And this is part of our strategy with every activation that we do, and we're truly genuine. It's not just saying that we don't want to overbrand it and it's just window dressing. No, it is a genuine approach that we take, and we think overall it does give back to us as a brand.
One of the other elements, I think, just leading on from that, and ladies and gentlemen, you may have seen this more recently, this was against Tottenham Hotspur in the Premier League in April. The campaign was called Unsilence the Crowd, and I understand you targeted members of the fan group, fans who are deaf or have hearing loss specifically. That engagement with the local community on that issue, can you tell us a little bit about it, Ibrahim? What happened? Talk us through the purpose of it, and we're going to watch a little bit of it in a second, but tell us a little bit about the background first.
Well, it was a campaign that we put together. It started off with a very simple idea. That simple idea snowballed into a full-on campaign, and it just became bigger and bigger in terms of the impact that it could provide to the community in general. So it was the first ever football shirt with haptic technology used to amplify and to amplify the atmosphere at the stadium, and to have people with hearing disabilities feel the noise at the stadium and feel the atmosphere at the stadium. It was an important step for us because we came across two fans who are genuine Newcastle fans, season ticket holders, who go to every single game, and unfortunately do not get to experience the noise and the atmosphere at the stadium. And St. James's Park is known to have the best atmosphere in England. But these fans, their experience is very different to the typical football fan who goes to St. James's Park. So given, again, tapping into our tagline, spectacular every day, and redefining experiences, we looked at how we can redefine the experience for such a fan group. And this is where we started looking into different ideas and how we can provide something of value that will give back to them and will improve their experience on match days.
I think we can see an infographic which is going to explain how it all worked. While we're watching that, Peter, what was the reaction of the club when Sela came to you with what seems like an incredibly innovative idea?
Well, I'll be honest, the first reaction was no way. No, genuinely, we had a presentation of several activations and campaigns that Sela wanted to execute, all of which they have executed, I should say. But that one, I passed it off. I didn't think it was possible, and thought it was just an ambition that would be unrealizable. And then being part of that, I'm fortunate to be part of some very community-led activations in my experience, in my career. And this one was really special because it was so different. It was looking at a group that are unheard in the football industry and in the sports industry, and really shining a light on it. It was a lot of work from a lot of stakeholders, And credit to everyone who made this possible, because it's something, again, that we'll be able to look back in time and be very proud of, not just as Sela and Newcastle United, but as the football industry and as brands and rights holders in the industry, of really shining awareness or shining light on a topic. And then now the challenge for both of us is to make sure there's a legacy behind it. But yeah, initially it was disbelief, but that's not unusual with Sela, given everything has to be spectacular, so they're obviously very brand focused. But then taking that to execution and realizing it was possible, realizing, excuse me, it'd be possible for the Tottenham game, and then I guess Sela's our lucky charm with the big activations, winning the game 4-0, having the celebration in the stadium. The noise that day was insane, and therefore the whole experience, the whole activation, just, you know.
And I think, just to add to that, I think it's one of the very few activations that I've personally been a part of, that you see all stakeholders pull together for one goal and one cause. So we've had Sela, the club, the fan groups, the players, media, Premier League, broadcasters, all stakeholders just pulled together because it was done for a good cause.
Well, let's take a look at the video and see how everyone pulled together and what the end result was like.
On match day, thousands of die-hard Newcastle fans make their way to St James's Park. Fans like Ryan and David, best friends and lifelong supporters. They experience football differently from other fans. But their unique perspective has been an inspiration, a driving force for innovation. Using cutting-edge technology, the Sela sound shirt vibrates to the noise of the crowd at the game.
It's almost like you're wearing the stadium.
This technology has the power to change the way deaf people experience live football, helping them feel more connected to the fans and more connected to the game.
Hello, how is everybody? For the Tottenham game, you're all going to be mascots, so you get to walk out with us in front of the crowd. Ready? Go. Love.
Newcastle United from Conway.
This is more than a shirt, it's a change for the better, creating moments that will be remembered forever.
Anything like last season, they might need new batteries at half time. Two goals in what, a minute? It's Newcastle United 4. Look at him even now. I'm shots positive, and so it should.
Stand there in that celebration of saying love the fans in sign language.
It's raising awareness.
These supporters are being heard.
This technology has got the potential to have a real lasting impact.
That's the power of football. And every football club has the power to affect people, to give them experiences they wouldn't normally get.
Wow, I mean, absolutely an amazing experience for those fans and an amazing experience for the club and for everyone connected to it. As Eddie Howe said at the end, the power of football to change lives. You know, we talk about it so often in this sport that we all love, that we're all here today to talk about. But when you see that, when you see the impact that it can have, it's incredible. Ibrahim, where does this go from here? This was not a one-off, as I understand it. What is the next steps? What's the vision for this? And what's your message to people who are in this industry about what they can do?
Generally, we want this technology to be adopted. We want to see other clubs, other entertainment platforms adopt that technology. We are in discussions with a few other entities just to ensure that there's a legacy to be left behind from our perspective, because generally the technology does work. It does amplify the experience, and it's just a fantastic layer to add to any sort of entertainment event. So football is a starting point. It could potentially end up with other sports like basketball, American football, and so on. And it can potentially live in entertainment events like music concerts and so on.
Yeah, again, nostalgic, very emotional, very proud, very thankful, but also just waiting for the next one. But on that, Ryan, one of the protagonists here, his mother said it was the first time she'd seen him dance because he used the technology at home, listening to music. And again, as Ibrahim said, the challenge for us is to take this and create a legacy with it so that it's got multi-use. And again, it shows the benefit of being with a brand that's not, it's not a B2C business, it's looking to promote spectacular and events and experiences, and obviously they were spectacular appearances for the children in that stadium, excuse me, and for everyone involved. And again, it's the challenge of how do we create the legacy to move that forward and get more widespread adoption. We're not protective over that technology. We would love other Premier League clubs to be interested and able to use that so that fans all over the country can benefit from the activation.
Ibrahim, last question on this, and we want to move on to the future of the partnership. But we saw there in the video RNID, which is a national deaf charity. Back to the title of our panel here, Partnering with Purpose. You gave away your front of shirt sponsorship for that game. Why was that important to do that as well in conjunction with pioneering that technology?
No, it was very important to showcase how genuine we were about this activation, and it was the first time ever that such a charity has been given a Premier League front of shirt exposure by a sponsor. It was extremely important to showcase and to work on, because when we started discussions with RNID, it really did showcase how big of a problem hearing disabilities are in the UK. It's around that 1 in 4 people in the UK have some sort of hearing loss or hearing disabilities. So it was quite important to bring them on board. They were very supportive from the get-go, and they've added a lot of value to our campaign.
We thank you for that. I mean, there was a fantastic to see that brought to life there. We've got about 10 minutes left on this. I want to talk a little bit about the future of the partnership, the future of Newcastle United and Sela together. Peter, to you first. The club, it's an exciting time for the club. We see a lot of growth on and off the pitch in terms of partnerships. We know the pressures that all clubs are under in terms of growing their revenue base, growing those partnerships. Where's the club at the moment, and how are you going about tackling that issue?
We're still on the journey. We obviously benefit hugely from the huge global platform that the Premier League provides on a weekly basis, but we need to go beyond that. So we need to continue to activate with partners. Sela is one of the partners that's activating incredibly. Saudi is another partner. We're launching our kit partnership with Adidas next Friday, and they are, as they are with Ajax, committed to building our brand and our following. And then, of course, we need to continue to activate in foreign markets to grow that global fan base. That's where we are behind our peer clubs, or the clubs we want to be peers with in the top of the Premier League, which means we need to travel. So we're traveling to Japan this summer. We hope to engage and activate on behalf of partners in that territory. And we're continuing to try and understand and grow our fan base across the globe. We're at the beginning of a brand strategy journey. Sela is obviously further forward than us in that regard, but how do we engage with and grow our relevance with audiences beyond the UK, where we're a saturated market. We're a one-club city. We're clearly one of the biggest clubs in the UK, but we now need to grow beyond that. So understanding who we are, what we stand for, and how we can attract new audiences is going to be really important. An activation or activity like the drone show or Unsilence the Crowd obviously create relevance for us, and now our job is to capitalise on that, take that relevance, that awareness of Newcastle United, and to use a Martin word, convert them into someone who will consume content or consume Newcastle United with a greater affinity.
Yeah. Ibrahim, Sela's role in that journey, we've seen you there be incredibly engaged on a local level, but how does the company and the brand partner with Newcastle as they look to expand that internationally? How can you aid in that process?
Well, we try to bring any value from our experience onto the table with the club. Sela and Newcastle are true partners. It's not just about being a mere sponsor of a football club. We are true partners. We did have tough negotiations, me and Peter, a year ago, but but basically, I think that contract, once it was signed, we just threw it in a drawer and never looked at it again, because we're trying to get the best out of each other's platforms and try to ensure that we benefit each other as much as possible. Our ambition is for this partnership to be a long-term partnership. We can add value in any way, shape, or form. We'll be more than happy to do that to the club, contributing to their fan base in general. We try to support with that, especially in our region. Newcastle is a Saudi-owned club, so it automatically has a lot of affinity within the kingdom. Saudi Arabia is a football-mad country, and everyone in the kingdom has at least a local club and perhaps an international club that they support. And we hope that Newcastle becomes one of the most supported international clubs in the region.
But just to be clear, it's not Sela's job to grow Newcastle United. They're focused on their business objectives, which makes my job easier because it's very clear the UK was the first target market for your international awareness and expansion. Therefore, a front of shirt sponsorship with a leading Premier League club was extremely important. And then as we focus on different markets, whether that's the US or Southeast Asia or the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, it's then to align with Sela as to whether that is a target market for them. Obviously in Saudi Arabia, as Ibrahim said, and we all are becoming increasingly aware, it's a football-mad market. I think the president of the Saudi Arabian FA leaders last year in Abu Dhabi said it's the number 1, 2, and 3 sport, as we're seeing with the huge investment into the Saudi Pro League. But now it's for Newcastle to try and become relevant in that market, if that's a market that we feel we can create more of a fan base.
So as you move into season 2 of the partnership, we've seen some of the results of this so far, and how do you grow this? Where do you go next? What's the plans? Give us a little insight into that vision for what lies ahead next season.
Well, I think we've set the benchmark quite high for ourselves. Generally, we just want to take it to the next level. We do have a strategy. It won't be just random activations. Year 1 or season 1, I think, has been successful so far. We have one important project that we're launching in the next couple of weeks in Newcastle. That will be the final activation of the 23-24 season, and then we'll go back to the drawing board, ensure that we're on strategy, and on our path to be seen, be known, and ultimately be loved. Season 2 will basically build on what we've done on season 1.
And Peter, just in terms of, from the club's perspective, having a partner like Sela who are so active and are clearly doing lots with fans, but when we talk about new generations of fans and attracting new fans to the club, how does that partnership work for you in that respect, in terms of like growing that fan base, both locally and as you've talked about internationally?
Yeah, well, an international fan who may not be aware of Newcastle United will be, well, I hope, being aware of the drone show, as an example, or someone who may not even be a football fan may have become aware of Unsilence the Crowd, which then shines light on Sela, shines light on the Premier League, shines light on Newcastle United, the city of Newcastle. So that is these types of activations, and we're obviously very lucky. We all talk about, well, I'm sure the people in the room who work with sponsors, about the need to drive sponsors to activate their rights. You know, often you find there are sponsors who sit on their rights or don't use them well. That's not the case with Sela. As Ibrahim mentions, they were very robust negotiations as to what rights they wanted, and now we understand why they wanted them, what they were trying to achieve. So we're very, you know, we're being pushed. The plans they have for next year are also, some of them I'm not sure will be realizable, but then you realize the partner you're with and you think, okay, they will be. And what we're going to do in the next couple of weeks will again engage our local community, but obviously, hopefully be relevant to a global community.
Ibrahim, we've seen in the videos that we've watched, the city is a constant backdrop in there. It's a one-club city. How important has it been to build relations there, to reach out beyond the 54,000 people who pack the stadium every week, and to reach out into the wider local community beyond those fans who are regularly attending matches?
It was very important for us because it is part of the fabric. Newcastle United is a part of the fabric of the city itself. So we wanted to become a part of the Newcastle family. It's not just about being a logo on a shirt. It's about being embraced into the community in general, within the city, the club, and even all teams within the club. So we even sponsor the women's team, the youth teams, and so on. So it was very important to become a part and become woven within that fabric of the city. And we tend to work with a lot of local entities when it comes to delivering our activations in general. So local companies within the Newcastle city, we work very closely with the council. So we try to bring as much value as possible to the city.
Yeah, I should have added, Sela's also been a great supporter of our women's team, which is on a journey in itself to going from the lower leagues of women's football, just recently promoted twice in a row to the championship, and Sela's been providing buses and transport to the away matches for our women's team. We're very fortunate we take 5,000 fans to away matches in the women's league, so that's another way they have aligned with our fans, but more so when we played Sunderland and took a bus, or had to bus all of our fans for the FA Cup. Sela provided every one of the fans with a scarf, which was very popular because it was, again, I'm getting the theme here, we won, we won convincingly in that game, and then the fans had a positive memory of that day, but also the engagement from our partner.
It was a simple thing, wasn't it, Ibrahim, just in terms of giving scarves, but the pictures at the end, when the team are celebrating at their arch rivals and everyone's twirling a scarf above their head, little things like that can make a difference. It doesn't have to be, drones in the sky are one thing, but little things like that can also make a difference.
Yeah, absolutely, they work hand in hand. Let's be very clear. I don't think the fans were celebrating getting a free scarf. They were celebrating the win. So obviously providing the scarf for every single fan just adds to that experience, and it'll be a good piece of memorabilia that they'll keep hopefully for years to come.
Some closing thoughts in the remaining time we've got. For those interested in trying to bring more meaning, more meaningful activations, more meaningful events, a greater connection with their fans, Peter, what would be your advice to those clubs and those entities and organisations who are trying to achieve and be on the same path that you seem to be on with Sela?
Going back to activation, it's clear activation budget needs to be agreed at the outset between the parties, or the commitment to activation. It's very easy to focus on the top line, giving as few rights as possible and maximising the value of a sponsorship. But if you haven't discussed activation, and Sela were absolutely focused on activation both in our contract and in discussions, so it's a really clear message. If you don't think about it from the outset, you'll have a passive sponsorship or partnership, which doesn't benefit both parties. So that's my...
that's your takeaway?
Yeah, but that goes to other partners as well. I mean, I have done the same, and we'll do the same with Adidas and other partners, always making sure that we have earmarked the right focus for activating the rights as opposed to just passively giving rights.
And Ibrahim, on the brand side, what would your advice be to getting that meaningful connection with fans and getting the message across?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, any brand needs to understand the fans, needs to understand their fan culture in general. And two, there has to be proper activation and use of the inventory of rights that are provided to a brand from their football club. Because the more these rights are being used and activated, the better it is for everyone around, from the club to the sponsor and so on. And sponsors will realize that value, and they'll start activating even more and more.
We have to wrap it up there, but gentlemen, thank you so much for your time this morning. It's been a fascinating insight into the whole purpose and the whole way in which clubs and brands can interact and bring about a meaningful change. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your time, and if you could put your hands together and say thank you to Peter and to Ibrahim. Thank you.